Hello, we'll continue with the Merchant of Venice. So we are in on page 53 of the text, and just scroll down to that. We're in Act 2. Uh, we're in Act 2. So here we are. So here Bassanio enters with Leonardo and a follower or two. Bassanio is the lover of Portia, the rich heiress of Belmont. So Bassanio is going to Belmont and he has just borrowed 3,000 ducats or 3,000 gold coins from Shylock, or rather, Antonio has borrowed it from Shylock on Bassanio's behalf. And Bassanio is getting ready to go to Belmont. So he enters with Leonardo and a follower or two. Leonardo is a friend of Bassanio's. So Bassanio is giving instructions to Leonardo. He says to an attendant, he says, "You may do so, but let it be so hasted that supper be ready at the farthest by 5 of the clock. See these letters delivered, put the liveries to making, and desire Gratiano to come on to my lodging." So Bassanio is giving instructions to an attendant. The attendant asks him if he can do something, and Bassanio gives his permission. He says, "You may do so." But he says that it should be done, it should be so hurried, it should be so hasted that supper be ready at most by 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. that day. And he tells the attendant to deliver some letters, and he asks him to put the uniforms to the stitching, to be stitched. He asks the liveries to be made, and he asks attendant to tell Gratiano to meet him at his, that is Bassanio's, lodging. The attendant exits. Lancelot, to him, father. So here Lancelot is with his father, Old Gobbo. Old Gobbo has bought a present for Lancelot's master. Lancelot is a clown and he was in the service of Shylock, but he has decided to run away from Shylock and join Bassanio. So Lancelot asks Old Gobbo, his father, to give the present that Old Gobbo has bought to Bassanio, to him, father. So Gobbo, he can neither see nor can he speak properly. Old Gobbo is both blind and he's almost, he mixes his words. So Gobbo, Old Gobbo says to Bassanio, "God bless your worship." Bassanio, "Gramercy, wouldst thou aught with me?" So Bassanio asks if Old Gobbo wants, if he wants to say something to him. Old Gobbo, "Here's my son, sir, a poor boy." Lancelot, "Not a poor boy, sir, but the rich Jew's man. That would, sir, as my father shall specify." So Lancelot says that he is in the service of a rich Jew, that is Shylock, and he wants to do something which his father, that is Old Gobbo, shall tell Bassanio. Gobbo, he hath a great infection, sir, as one would say to serve. So instead of affection or desire, Old Gobbo mixes up his words and he says that Lancelot has a great infection. It should not be infection but affection or desire or need to serve Lancelot. He interrupts his father. "Indeed, the short and the long is, I serve the Jew and have a desire as my father shall specify." So Lancelot interrupts his father and says, the long and the short of the matter is, that is, the summary of what he wants to say is, he serves the Jew and now has a desire as his father shall speak on his behalf, as his father shall specify. Gobbo, his master and he, saving your worship reverence, or scarce cater cousins. So old Gobbo tells Bassanio that Lancelot's master and Lancelot are almost at loggerheads with each other. They're against each other. They're cater cousins. Lancelot, to be brief, the very truth is that the Jew, having done me wrong, doth cause me, as my father being, I hope, an old man, shall fructify unto you. So even Lancelot mixes up his words and he says that, in short, to be brief, the truth is that the Jew, that is Shylock, has done him, that is Lancelot, a lot of wrong, and yes, that wrong which has been done to Lancelot has caused him, and his father shall fructify. Fruit should not be fructify; it should be fructify or intimate or tell him, Old Gobbo, I have here a dish of doves that I would bestow upon your worship, and my suit is. So Old Gobbo presents the dish that he has bought for Shylock. He presents it to Bassanio. The dish is made out of doves, and he says he wants to hand give it to Bassanio, and he says his petition or his suit is. Uh, then Lancelot again interrupts him. In very brief, the suit is impertinent to myself, as your worship shall know by this honest old man. And though I say, though old man, yet poor man, my father. So they keep on going on, they keep going on like this. And again, Lancelot mixes up his words. He says, in very brief, in summary, the very the suit is impertinent to myself. So what means to say is the suit is pertinent or relevant to himself, and he says, and then he talks about his father. Then Bassanio, he gets a bit, impatient at being spoken to for so long with no real message. So he tells one, speak for both. What would you? So he asked one of them to speak, not both of them to speak together, and he asked what they wanted. Lancelot, serve you, sir. That is the very defect of the matter, sir. So Lancelot says he wants to serve Bassanio, and Gobbo again mixes up his word. That is the very defect of the matter. That is the very, what he means to say is, that is the very core of the matter. That is the very sum of the matter. But he says it's a defect or a mistake of the matter. Bassanio to Lancelot. Bassanio says to Lancelot, I know thee well, thou hast obtained thy suit. So Bassanio says that he knows Lancelot well and he has obtained service in Bassanio's house. Shylock, thy master, spoke with me this day and hath preferred thee, if it be preferment, to leave a rich Jew service to become the follower of so poor a gentleman. So Bassanio says that Shylock has spoken with him that day, and he has recommended Lancelot. If it is a recommendation to leave a rich Jew, that is, to leave Shylock's service, to become the servant or the follower of so poor a gentleman as Bassanio. And so Lancelot becomes very happy. He becomes almost ecstatic. And says, the old proverb is very well parted between my master Shylock and you, sir. You have the grace of God, sir, and he hath enough. So uh, Lancelot is very happy that he has obtained service under Bassanio, and he says that Bassanio has the grace of God on him, and Shylock has enough. Bassanio, thou speakst it well. So Bassanio says that Lancelot has spoken about it well. Go, father, with thy son, take leave of thy old master, and inquire my lodging out. So Bassanio tells Lancelot to go with his father and to take leave of Shylock and inquire where Bassanio's lodging is, where his Bassanio's lodging is. And Bassanio says to an attendant, give him a livery more guarded than his fellows. See it done. So Bassanio asks an attendant to give Lancelot a better uniform, a more splendid uniform other than the other servants, and attendant exit. Bassanio and Leonardo talk apart. Lancelot, Father, I cannot get a service. No, I have never a tongue in my head. Well, studying his palm, if any man in Italy have a fairer table which doth offer to swear upon a book, I shall have good fortune. Go to. Here's a simple line of life. Here's a small trifle of wives. Alas, 15 wives is nothing. 11 widows and 9 maids is a simple coming in for one man. And then to escape drowning thrice and to be in peril of my life with the edge of a feather bed. Here are simple scapes. Well, if fortune be a woman, she is a good wench for this gear. Father, come, I'll take leave of the Jew in the twinkling. So, Lancelot is very happy, and he says that no person in all Italy has a fairer dining table when he takes the oath before he eats upon the book called the Bible, or when he takes the oath upon the Bible before dining, and he says he shall have good fortune because he's just got work. And here then he says that fortune is a lady who is supposed to be blind, and uh, he says that fortune, uh, if his fortune smile upon him, he shall have luck, and uh, he'll take leave of Shylock in the twinkling of an eye very quickly. So Lancelot and Lord Gopa exit Bassanio. I pray thee, good Leonardo, think on this, handing on him a paper. So Bassanio asks Leonardo to consider something which he has written on a piece of paper. These things being bought and orderly bestowed, return in haste, for I do feast tonight my best esteemed acquaintance. Hie thee, go. So on the piece of paper is written a list of things to be bought and stored. They have to be bestowed, and they have to be bestowed in an orderly manner. They have to be stored in an orderly manner. And he asked Leonardo to come back in haste, and because he has arranged a feast that night with his best esteemed acquaintances, with his best friends. So he asked Leonardo to hurry, and he says, Hi thee, go. Leonardo, my best endeavor shall be done here. And so Leonardo says that he'll put forward his best efforts to see that all the things are done. Enter Gratiano. Gratiano to Leonardo, where's your master? Yonder, sir, he walks. So Gratiano asks Leonardo where Bassanio is, and Leonardo points to Bassanio and says, over there, Bassanio is walking. Leonardo exits. Signor Bassanio, says Graciano. Graciano, Bassanio is happy to see Graciano. I have suit to you. So Graciano says he has a petition for Bassanio. You have obtained it. Bassanio doesn't even hear the petition. He says that he will grant whatever Graciano asks. You must not deny me. I must go with you to Belmont. So Graciano says that he must go with Bassanio to Belmont, where Portia is. Bassanio. Why then you must. But hear thee, Graciano, thou art too wild, too rude, and bold of voice. Parts that become thee happily enough, and in such eyes as ours appear not faults. So Bassanio cautions Greciano. He says that Greciano has got wild behavior. Sometimes he's too rude, and sometimes he raises his voice. He's bold of voice sometimes. And among his friends, among friends such as Bassanio, these things do not appear faults, and they become Greciano happily enough. They suit Greciano. But where thou art not known, why there they show something too liberal. But in a place like Belmont, where Greciano and Bassanio are going, where such behavior is not exactly expected, then there they seem to be too liberal sorts of behavior. Pray thee, take thy pain to ally with some cold drops of modesty, thy skipping spirit, lest through thy wild behavior I be misconstrued in the place I go to and lose my hopes. So Bassanio asks Greciano to uh, to uh, uh, to uh, to use some cold drops of water to become more modest, his skipping spirit, his energy, and his enthusiasm should be controlled, and they should become more modest. Uh, because if through the wild behavior of Bresciano, Bassanio is misunderstood in Belmont and lose his hopes of gaining Portia's hands. Bresciano says, Signor Bassanio, hear me. So Gratiano asks Bassanio to listen to what he has to say. And he says, if I do not put on a sober habit, talk with respect, and swear but now and then, with prayer books in my pocket, look demurely, nay more while Grace is saying, hood mine eyes, thus with my hat, and sigh and say, Amen. Use all the observance of civility like one studied in a sad Austin to please his grandam, never trust me more. So Gratiano says that he will agree to control himself. He says he'll put on a sober habit, he'll put on a very serious set of clothes, and he'll talk respectfully with everyone. He will only swear, he will only use bad words occasionally, and he'll keep prayer books in his pocket, and he'll always look down and never look anyone straight in the eye. He'll look demure, and while Grace is saying, before eating, while Grace is saying, he will hood his eyes. He will his eyelids will cover his eyes. He'll cover his eyes with his hat, and then he will sigh and say Amen. And he will use all the observance of civility. He'll use all the observances, all the rules of polite behavior, like one well studied in a sad Austin to please his grandam. So just as a grandson tries to please his grandmother by looking very sad and serious and very mature, Gratiano says that he will put on a very sober appearance in Belmont. And if he doesn't do that, he asks Bassanio to never trust him anymore. Bassanio says, well, we shall see your bearing. So Bassanio tells Gratiano that how uh, he will consider how Gratiano will behave in the future. Gratiano, nay, but I bar tonight, you shall not gauge me by what we do tonight. So Gratiano says he will accept that night, because that night they have arranged a feast, and Bassanio will not measure Gratiano's behavior, he will not measure Gratiano's politeness, but what Gratiano does that night. So that night, Gratiano intends to let himself go and really paint the night red, and he will enjoy himself to uh, to his to the extent that he can. So Bassanio should not he should not measure Gratiano's behavior by what they do that night. Bassanio, no, no, that were pity. I would entreat you rather to put on your boldest suit of mirth, for we have friends that purpose merriment. So Bassanio says, if Gratiano were to become more modest and sober and serious that night, that would be a pity. But he requests him, he entreats Gratiano to be as happy as he can, to be as mirthful as he can, because that night they have friends whose purpose is to be merry or happy, feasting and drinking. But fare you well, I have some business. So he takes leave of Gratiano, and I must to Lorenzo and the rest, but we will visit you at supper time. They exit. So Gratiano says that he has to meet Lorenzo and the rest of his friends, and he says that he will visit Bassanio that evening at supper. So they exit.